Sawadee-ka, welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. So today I'm going to make a dish that for many of us Asians, we would consider this sort of classic childhood comfort food, and that is Chinese sausage fried rice, or what we call in Thailand, khao pat gun chiang. Khao pat is fried rice and gun chiang is Chinese sausage. This is a dish of Chinese origin that has spread basically all over Asia. Like so many countries have their own version of this. So I'm going to show you the Thai version of khao pat gun chiang, which really isn't all that different except for the use of you know what secret ingredient. But it's a quick, easy thing that is so delicious and super hard to stop eating. Let's get started. Only a few ingredients to talk about because it's pretty easy, but I need to talk about your choice of Chinese sausage or lap cheong as it's called in Cantonese. So not any Chinese sausage will do for this. As I've learned the hard way, some brands are really salty, and when you're putting it in like seasoned fried rice, it just ends up being too salty. Those are fine if you're gonna eat it with rice, like plain rice or something like that. So you might have to like try a couple brands. For the local peeps, this is the one that I like to use, and hey, if it comes with a free gift, bonus. So in my experience, I find the ones that are a little bit fatter is less sweet. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or actually a thing, or like the skinnier ones are saltier. And then what you want to do is just cut them into thin rounds like this. I like to do it a little bit on a bias because it always looks a little bit better. A note if you're not familiar, these are not like pepperoni sticks, okay? You do not eat this raw. You need to cook this. Adam actually once walked into a butcher in Chinatown to buy these, and the butcher was so concerned that the white guy was gonna just start eating these like pepperoni sticks. He was trying very hard to communicate using sign language to Adam. No. Do not eat these raw. Just FYI, these need to be cooked. Okay, apart from that, the only thing I want to just talk about is how to cut gailan or Chinese broccoli for this particular recipe. You can use whatever kind of veggies you like. I think some greens is good, but being fried rice, there's a bit of a trick because with the stems, they're going to take a lot longer to cook than the leaves, but I don't want to go through the trouble of separating them and cooking them at different times. So I'm going to make sure that when I cut the stems, I just cut them into thin rounds so that essentially you can eat them raw. Okay, so they're crunchy and they just get heated through just like that. And then once you get to the part where it's starting to get to the thin stems and the leaves, you can go into sort of 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch ribbons, just like that. Obviously, if you're using other vegetables, just use your judgment. So apart from that, I just got onions and carrots. You can use other things, but these are pretty basic. And then soy sauce and fish sauce, which is, I guess, where the Thai part comes in. I really think the combination of these two makes a big difference. Everything else is pretty basic. I'll talk about them as I use them. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cook the Chinese sausage to first brown it a little bit and also render some of that pork fat so that that flavorful fat can help coat the rice, add some flavor. So I've got my wok completely dry. You don't want any oil in here at this stage because there's going to be more fat coming. Add the Chinese sausage and let it sort of slowly render. So you don't want high heat at this point because Chinese sausage, if you've ever had it, you know that it's quite sweet, which means it will burn easily. So I really didn't need to preheat this pan at all. I don't know what I was doing. Habit. And then you're gonna cook this until basically it starts to brown on the underside a little. See, it's gonna start to sort of like look a little grilled. Yeah, they become translucent and then you get like this little bits of like bubbly, blistered, that's the word I'm looking for. Then once it's blistered, again, they burn quick. So you just want to, once you have all the nice blister, that's good flavor development. Just want to give them a toss and make sure they're cooked through and heated through. And then that's it. I'm just going to be done with that because I don't want to burn these. And I've got a nice amount of oil already coming out. I find that you can over render the oil. And then what happens is the flavor becomes too salty because you've like, you know, concentrated the seasoning in the sausage. So you don't want to overdo it. Whee! Whee! So set this aside for now. And then in our pan here, I'm going to turn the heat back on. And depending on how much oil you've got left, you may or may not need to add more. I am going to add a little bit more. And then in goes my onions, my carrots. And you want to cook this for about 2 minutes, just to cook the onions through, cook the carrots through. These are hard vegetables, so do give them time. Medium, high heat at this point. One misconception about wok cooking is everything has got to be blazing inferno hot all the time. That is not true. Sometimes you want it really hot to get things cooking quickly, water evaporating, get that wok hay smoky flavor. But other times things need slow and low heat. And they're bathing in lapcheung oil. So good. That's looking good. My onion's starting to brown just a little bit. I'm gonna now add my garlic, and I'm adding garlic second because this was gonna take a while and the garlic could have burned if I added it first. And then I'm also going to add my white pepper at this stage. And now most people add pepper at the end, but I find adding it at this stage really allows it to infuse into the oil and then gets the flavor distributed more evenly. And the garlic literally needs like 30 seconds at this point. If it's dry, make sure you add a little extra oil. Okay, now eggs are gonna go in. I'm gonna push everything to one side. Oh, wait a minute. Do I add? Yes, I gotta add my vegetables first. And then give this a toss. And then again, I'm really not worried about cooking the gailan as much because the stems are really nice and thin. They could have been eaten raw. I just need the leaves to be kind of wilted. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push everything to the side. I'm gonna move my wok a little bit so that my heat is in this empty spot. If you need to, you can add a little bit more oil because I'm gonna add my eggs in there. If you're using non-stick, you're not gonna need any more oil. There we go. Scramble it a little bit. Not all the way, because, you know, I like a marbled effect of my eggs. If you like your eggs in one color, you can beat them ahead of time. Oh, yes. Looking good. Now, if you like your eggs to cling on to the vegetables while it's still raw, you mix them. But if you want the eggs to be in like sort of separate pieces, you can wait till it's more cooked. And eggs are still a little bit runny. I'm gonna add my rice because I also want the eggs to cling on to the rice. Okay, give this a quick toss. Oh, I need to up my heat now. Forgot about that. Okay, so heat can go high now. My seasoning is going in, my fish sauce, also known as magic sauce, my soy sauce, and a little bit of sugar to balance out all that saltiness. And now you're going to just toss like your life depended on it. So your goal in this initial minute is you need to break all the lumps. So you got lumps, find them, you get rid of them. And my rice is cold because I have some left over. But again, I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say your rice does not need to be cold or old. It can come straight out of the rice cooker. You just need to make sure it is properly cooked. And I will link to a video where I talk about properly cooked rice in the description. Okay, so once you have no more lumps, at this point, I'm going to let it sit and toast a little bit so the rice gets a little bit crispy. And I'm going to try to not forget to also... Because if you've seen the show, you know what happens. I always forget to put the protein back in. So let me just get that tossed first. And then let my rice toast. Hear the sound of toasting and popping rice. That is the key to delicious fried rice. Again, we want fried rice, not just mixed rice. Oh, this is so good. Look, I got some nice toasty bits. And just like that, it is done. Woo. Look at this. And I should tell you that if it's your first time making a dish, you want to taste it before you plate it because then you can fix it. But I've made this so many times that I just know this works. And this makes a perfect amount for 2 healthy adults. A balanced meal, veggies, protein, carbs. And then because I'm Thai, I do like to put a sprinkling of cilantro on top. You could do green onions, but I feel like we already have an oniony thing in there. So like cilantro adds this sort of cooling freshness. But if you don't like cilantro, you don't have to do anything. And then also, because I'm Thai, we always like cucumber with our salad because, not salad, fried rice. Because fried rice is so rich and heavy and the cucumber really acts like a nice sort of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Palate cleanser. That's it. Yay! Does that look good or what? Oh, my tummy is rumbly. Oh, hot. So good. First you eat it, you taste the rice. And the rice, the fried rice itself is already good. Perfect balance, salty, savory, sweet. And then you start chewing on the lapcheong. And it's like, oh, yes! So that chewy texture and the sort of the fatty juiciness of the sausage and that sweet and that iconic flavor of lapcheong. I mean, there's like nothing that tastes quite like Chinese sausage. It starts to come out and mix with the rice and it's just heaven. Ah, so good. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking because I gotta go and finish this because I'm so hungry. So the recipe, as always, will be on hotthaikitchen.com, and if you make it, you can post a photo and then tag me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Hot Thai Kitchen. If you haven't subscribed, you must, because more recipes like this will be coming your way. A special thanks to our Patreon supporters who help make this show possible, and I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal.